well, you just showed me the loft upstairs before, which is an absolute cracker, and lots of exciting tunes getting made there. But where do you want to start? Tell me about like your journey into getting into this world, into the industry, into being who Stonewax is now. Like, get me involved.
Okay. Well, when a mummy and daddy love each other very much. No, I'm joking. No, yes.
Skip ahead maybe like just a few years.
Okay, so teenager, always loved music, was so magnetic towards it, like very influenced by my stepfather's favourite bands and stuff, listening to The Doors, and, you know, another extreme side of that was like Eminem and Dr. Dre. And
okay, yeah.
So I was exposing myself very young to probably not the most teenage-friendly bands.
Yeah, fair.
But exploding my mind in many ways. Started playing guitar and drums about 12, 13 years old. Started with drums. Didn't really listen to my teachers too well, so...
Oh, so you took lessons, yeah?
I took some lessons for maybe 3 or 4 months, and just the program wasn't that good, wasn't inspiring me, so I was just like, nah, next. And then started playing guitar, same thing. Kind of hung on to the guitar for a lot longer, and I was just like learning, you know, monkey see, monkey do kind of stuff. I'd watch music DVDs and I'd just go and try and practice what they were doing on screen, you know. Many years passed. High school, went to university, tried to study music. I was also 17, 18 when I moved out of home, so I was like ready to make every social mistake I possibly could.
Good, yeah, good.
Learned how to drink,
yeah.
You know.
It's your weekend too, mate. Go for it.
All those sorts of things. So I didn't really have the right, you know, mental frame of mind to actually pursue a career, you know. Anyway, bounced around in all these different jobs, you know, was blaming the world but myself for these sorts of things.
But the music was a constant.
Music was there. Music was something that I would, like, the guitar was my therapy, you know. I'd be this lost hospo or student or whatever the fuck I was doing, like,
that time,
you know, and then always came back to the guitar, always came back to just the headphones, or always came back to hip hop or whatever it might have been, and just had that itch I needed to scratch. And then I was living in Townsville at the time. I finished uni. I got into a mechanics trade. Like, I worked in that for 7 years. During that time, like, music was still there, and I just needed to do something, and formed my first band with a couple other homies, and yeah, we did really well. It was quite a small scene there in Townsville in far north Queensland, so we got a lot of good opportunities and like opening for great bands in the scene already around Australia.
Yeah, because like anyone who was gonna come there, you were like that top of that shopping
Yeah,
list.
because we were so active. They were like, "Yep, you guys," you know. So we got to play with. Like, my first band played with the Rubens, DZ Death Rays, Smith Street Band. It was just so inspirational for me, you know. Like, I was like, fuck, we're getting these opportunities, like, and, you know, skip a few years ahead, some life-changing moments, you know. I really had I was struck by lightning, basically. It's like, what do you want to do with your life? It's like, do you want to go and serve this thankless job, or do you want to actually do something creative? And I went back to uni. I went back to SAE in West End and quit my trade, you know, gave all that up, and basically just blinders on, dove as deep as I could into music and learned everything about production, engineering, just making music myself, you know, filling the void, playing in bands, you know, producing the band's records, just creating as many opportunities for myself as possible. Because and my whole mindset shifted that time. So I killed it at uni. I finished 6 months early because I had a few credits.
Oh, from my
previous degree. And then I needed the internship, so got in touch with Paulie and OJ at Yamanui and hung out and quickly became part of the furniture at that space. And yeah, those guys really allowed me to build my portfolio. And even like, and again, like, I'm the kind of artist that I just need to be able to create without any expectation as well. So producing a lot for people, I was like, I just need to fill my own void, you know? And that's how stonewax became a thing. I just, even on my days off, I was experimenting with production, and I was just opening the software and treating that like a blank canvas myself. And all these crazy ideas came out of that, you know? And it's not something that I go and perform live, but it's just this, it's like an art form, a meditation.
100% you. It's 100% you.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. When I was at uni, I struggled to find time to do anything of my own. Like those break times is where I would essentially spend a period of time applying the previous trimester stuff, because I found no gap time. And like, if you were living like local to the coast, your distance into West End, unless you moved into the city, you didn't move into the city. No,
I was driving from Yarumba.
Yeah, so I was driving to the train. I was doing 3 hours of travel a day to get to Australian College of the Arts in Melbourne, because I was on the peninsula, so I was pretty much that sort of distance in Victoria. So I found very little time to get anything done. How did you find that? Did you find that you actually just made yourself time, or you had more time because you have extra credits, or?
I definitely burnt out.
Sure.
Hard.
Oh, yeah, that was the other option. Of course.
That was the option.
The other option. Burning
like
out,
all or nothing, basically.
Yeah.
So, I'd drive down to, it was 2 hours for me, sometimes 2.5 in traffic, but I'd leave at 4:30 a.m. I'd go. I
know that.
I'd be in West End having a coffee by 8 o'clock, like the latest, you know? So, those times, that's shit maths, by the way. I didn't do that well, but
I looked at it, I was like,
you know,
let him go.
4:30 wake ups.
He's
4:30 wakes
thriving.
up.
But like, I used to do meditation for an hour and a half before I left. Yeah.
I
didn't have to get up at 4:30. I just chose to.
I chose to get up at 4:30.
Yeah, because it was half an hour of me looking in the mirror, going, "You think you're better than me," and then like typing myself up. And then I got in the car.
You're dead right. Yes. So traveling, it was every week. I'd go sleep on my mate's couch, and I'd be at the uni from 8 till 10 p.m., you know. I'd have classes till probably 5 o'clock, but it was the window of opportunity for me. I'm like, I'm here. I've got the facilities. I've got the microphones. I'm going to do as much as I can because I'm here, you know.
And were you there 5 days a week?
No, it was 3 days of university a week, and then I'd come home. So I'd sleep on my mate's couch for that.
Oh, so there were 3 consecutive?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So 2 nights on the couch.
Yeah, okay.
After uni, on the 3rd day, I'd come back, and then I'd work in a bar or a cafe or on the beach in Noosa, like over the weekend. I had, like, the hospo job was quite demanding because it took up a lot of my evening time, which by that point, man, I was so drained socially.
Yeah, you were just running off the smell of an oily rag anyways.
Literally. But the beach job, when it wasn't busy, I was able to study. I was able to read, listen to a podcast. I was able to do my written assignment work, you know. So I was kind of I was very opportunistic in that sense, but constantly producing. Like, that time I was in Deerdoonan, so they were the greatest guinea pig, because it was like I learnt, you know, how to produce a live band, how to record that live band and mix it and edit it and blah, blah, blah. How to manage emotions of
relationships,
5 egos, you know, conflict resolution, manage a team, a schedule, plan a whole studio session, sex change the control rooms into live rooms, like all these things. Like, that was the greatest learning curve I had, you know. And taking that into Yamanui, I then learned a little bit more. Like, I learned heaps from Paulie in the sense of like getting the best out of the client, like managing their emotions, basically being a therapist, like taking off one hat and putting on the other, and seeing the bigger perspective in the end, you know. Like there's moments where you can't even continue a session because someone's having a breakdown, and you have to be that shoulder to cry on. Or
and you got to take the robotronics out of it and be like, 100%. If you're not having the best time, doesn't matter what I think, doesn't matter what you think, doesn't matter what the song sounds like, you're not having a good time, so therefore we can't go on. So
so all of those things that they don't teach you at uni, I learned at Yamanui and on my own, you know, like still learning, still constantly experimenting, and now, like, you know, I've got my own space and all of these fun projects, and it's just time to put it all out and see what's next, you know. Like,
so at uni, what did you study the first time?
So because Townsville was the closest university to me, and I had cousins that went there, I was just kind of like, yeah, that'll do, you know, naive. So the course that they offered, which was the closest thing to music, was new media arts, and that was like touching on music production, touching on film, touching on web design, graphic design.
So more holistic.
Yeah, super broad. Like, I think I did, I would have been like 4 hours of music production a week, you know, and I was still the kid that carried the guitar everywhere and played drums all night on my electric kit in my dorm room, but, you know, I wasn't finishing my assignments.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, that makes one more sense now. Yeah, and then what did you do? Music production at SA?
And then, audio engineering.
Oh, audio engineering, okay. Because I did music production at Col Arts, and that had a split of that performance world, and then that live, like, less of the live front of house mix side of things, which I think was potentially I think it was in its infancy. The course was in its infancy.
Yeah.
And I think doing music production at Col Arts now would be a different world, probably maybe more my speed, definitely your speed. But it was in its infancy, so a few things were like, oh, well, I guess we're going to do this. And then I suppose we do that. And the audio kids, like, didn't want a bar of it. And the music performance kids thought we weren't purists. Yeah. And we just sort of sat in this thing where, oh, I can play drums.
Yeah.
Quiet now, please. And then like, oh, I know how to mix a band. I don't know if you do. So it was sort of like we were these ugly middle children. Yeah. So I think I learned a little bit about how to be more resourceful with other mediums, whether that's direct one-to-one chats with like the faculty, because the best thing about Col Arts was very much that it was a those who were teaching. Yeah. So sometimes you'd have a couple of weeks where you'd have sort of a fill-in or a bridged curriculum sort of thing, and it's because, you know, Tony was on tour, you know, and it was like then they'd come back and be like, sort of, here's what happened and here's what I learned sort of thing, and then you would absorb that way outside of any book learning sort of stuff. Yeah. And that was instrumental and super successful for getting a little bit of an insight into what you were saying that I teach at uni, like that connection to relationships and dispute resolution, and like the big thing that even if you take out all that sort of psychological stuff, the big thing that is a missing gap, and I don't know if it still is now because obviously neither of us are studying, but how to work with other people. You didn't learn that in any schooling. Like, you learn a bit of sharing and make sure you share the toys at recess. But that's... or how
to trade your lunch.
Yeah, exactly. No, I wasn't allowed to do that because that was like the peanut epidemic. Oh, when it was like, you can't do that, so I couldn't trade shit. Have a muesli bar and you accidentally kill little Tony. You couldn't do that. So the whole world of like sharing and how to work with other people, that for me is still the biggest gap I find in music education, and thus the biggest hurdle to overcome when you get in a room with someone. Yeah. Because some people are very much have that scarcity mentality of like, I'm going to tell you these 3 ideas I have, but you're not recording any of this, are you? Because like, I don't want you to take them. Yeah. As opposed to that abundance mentality, which is what if you're doing it right, you get in the real world, is when you get in a room with someone and they come up with something cool and you come with something cool and you're like, oh, I just added 1 and 1 and we got 5, rather than, I don't really want to tell them that thing. It would probably complement their idea, but I don't really want to give that away. Give and take. It's not give and take, it's share.
There is a lot of trial and error around that. And also self-awareness. Like
Yep.
if you can, like, one thing I have learned is like, you know, any relationships, even platonic or whatever the fuck, you know, like you're going to learn how to react in the right way. And that's what a lot of it was, you know. I've learned from my shitty reactions in the past, you know, as we all do.
As we all do.
You know.
Hindsight's 2020.
Exactly. But if you see that in someone else, like you can respond in a better way and be like, I know why you're feeling this way. And that's what it is. You know, it's like the studio session it's an emotional environment. It's a passionate environment, you know. I play in a band with 2 Argentinians, you know.
I play in a band with only one, and sometimes that can be enough.
You know, sometimes I think they're arguing, but they're not. They're just having a conversation. But it's exactly that. Like, you know, we're 3 different ages. I think there's 5 years between the 3 of us, and I'm the oldest, so I see myself in both of them. You know, and now it's like, oh yeah, it's like, okay, speak your mind. Here's a point of view, you know.
Yeah,
And
and about seeking to understand rather than just seeking to be understood all the time.
100%. Like you're gonna live a boring life if you're always seeking to be understood.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, because that void you're talking about with the music becomes more of a void that sort of tends on that bitterness, where it's like every time I get in a session, it's like, okay, here's the 15 ideas that I've got.
Yeah.
Are you guys listening?
Yeah.
That instantly makes everyone tense up.
Yeah.
You know, and your role is either sometimes it can be to facilitate turning an idea into fruition, and other times can be to come to the party and be a contributing partner, be a force of your own creativity, and be like, well, what do you think? What do you reckon we should do next? You know, and being able to read that, I think those sorts of things, like it's the nuance of sort of human interaction in any setting. But I think when I was chatting to Oscar, the man behind Lounge, the other day, we were talking about that sort of thing, and he's like, it's something that I think a lot of people don't understand is going to happen. Like they go, I'd love to create with people, and then I'm like, yeah, but you know what that's going to entail. Like, and I mean that with respect. You know what that's going to entail. Yeah. Because there's a balance to that and understanding that, and sometimes you get in a session and they are all about whatever you want to say, and sometimes they're like, well, you just be buttons, man, I got this covered. And it's just about reading that and just understanding that. And like with that in mind, what is your, like, is the studio world still where you feel most at home compared to playing in front of people, with people?
There's definitely, you know, both realms definitely fill me, you know. I feel like my alter ego is on stage. You know, I feel very safe on stage, safer than I would in the crowd.
Yep.
Socially.
Same.
Dude, it's the weirdest thing because people are like, I don't get it. Like, how, you can't go out and socialize. I'm like the most awkward person, right? One-on-one with people, I'm sweet. But if there's like so much stuff happening around me, I'm like, you know, I'm a duck on water.
Yep.
But on stage, when I'm sitting on the drums or whatever, you know, like I forget everything around me. You know, I feel way more comfortable sitting on that chair than I would sitting in front of the mosh pit, you know what I mean? Like,
yep, for sure.
Even though they're both very enjoyable, I don't mind it, but I'm anticipating, you know, I'm like, I need to be there.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm glad you mentioned that because I feel the same. I remember having this conversation back in might have been actually uni times, just talking about festivals with someone, and they were talking about, I'm going to this one and this thing and that one and this one, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I was like, I was like 19 at the time, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ravenous to be at any of those things you just mentioned.
Dude,
unless
I
I'm
feel
on the
so
stage.
guilty. I feel so guilty for not buying, like not jumping at festival tickets and concert tickets and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm so selective. And I feel like I'm a bit spoilt because I'm in the environment quite a lot. Like I'm, you know, being in a band, you get that, you know, you feel that energy. But people are like, oh, you going to this festival? I'm like, yeah, it sounds all right, but I'd rather just like go home and...
For me, I'd rather just like...
You know, be
I'd
in
rather
solitude.
see that band though. Like if that band is coming to town, then and like exactly. Aaron and I see a few bands, and then we go and see the local live music. We go and support that scene. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if either of us would be ravenous to be in that, sweaty environment doing that $47 beers sort of, festival environment, unless I was loading in. Like, it's interesting. Like, in July, we're going back over with Delacoma to do Rockfest.
Yep.
And we're, I think, second or third on the Saturday. And for me, I'm thinking I wouldn't want to be out the front. Like, they can have like up to like 40,000 attendance or something outrageous over the weekend. It's insane. But I'm like, that terrifies me. But getting up on stage and playing the best 40 minutes we put out in America, that's just a Wednesday. That's just another day at the office. Like, that does not even... That's just super exciting for me. No nerves. I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. It's just a different... And some people would have a meltdown to think about being in front of even a small amount of people. Yeah. And I'm just like, no, that actually feels like safety, comfort, space. Yeah. Bit of the overstimulation thing as well. I think just like that's how I sort of go. Like, if there's too much going on, crowds don't really wow me. Like, I'd much rather be observing. Yeah. But it's just a different beast. It's just like different way of how we're wired, I guess.
Yeah, man. Totally agree. Like, there's even, I call it game day. Like, when you're about to play a show or whatever, I swear to God, like, we should be playing shows at 10 a.m. Like, because my energy level is just like, I'm pumping, I'm ready. Yep. Like, put me on a stage there. Whereas 10 p.m, I'm like, oh, like, I need an espresso martini or something. Like,
I need to get into it early enough. Like, I find that there needs to be enough of a, because like my brain is pretty much writing off the day anyway. Mm-hmm. So anything that's happening after midday, that's an all-day event. Yeah, I can't do anything that day. Yeah. Which is a bit of self-preservation, nothing else, because I'm very anal and I like my gear to be right, and this bag has to be, touch of the tism there. But like, I like everything to be in the right spot. Yeah. So we're playing at 1 p.m, we're playing at 9:15. It's the same for me. Like, the day's written off. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't want to get there where it's like, we don't need to be there till 7:30, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll probably start at 8:30. I'm like, yeah, sweet. And then maybe once doors and set at 9. I'm like, far away, 9. Like, that's fine. But it's 10 a.m. right now. How am I going to keep either this rolling, or I need to cut off this energy I've got right now and then find a way to bring it back after dinner? That's just wild to me. Yeah. It's just
sometimes you'll skip a meal and you're just like, you just throw your whole body out of whack, and you're like, that anticipation. Yeah. I'd rather sit on that stage and wait.
I'll do a 4-hour sound check if that would be better for you. Yeah.
Just play like soft beats until the moment happens or something.
Oh, we're ready? Oh, well, I feel pretty warmed up now. Yeah. It's interesting you said, like, what are you playing on stage more nowadays?
Drums.
Drums, yeah.
So much more. Yeah. Like, kind of since, making records. Like, I found myself, because as a freelance producer, you're wearing a lot of hats. You're not just producing and engineering, you're also performing a lot of the parts and playing that stuff, and doing that stuff so early for me. You can see, like, you're a drummer, you can see all your shit bits and the stuff you want to edit out and you want to fix and play better next time, or your early stuff, So I learnt very quick how to play drums on a record. So in the last 5 years, 6 years, it's all about drums for me. Yeah. Foundations, like making sure I'm in time. Yeah. Whereas before, like Dear Doonan, I was guitar and a lot of vocals, and still the producer element, like whatever I needed to fill the void of, I'd try and do.
For sure.
But I've just found myself letting go more and more of that, Guitar just doesn't excite me as much as sitting on a drum kit. Even trying to sing while you're playing the drums, like, such a fun challenge, And
I like that. And it's one of those things where you work to a set of limitations. Yeah. And for me, the live world is definitely where I feel more at home now, because I just think something that Del says whenever he plays, like, you could come to this show tomorrow again, we'll play the exact same set, back to front. We'll wear the same clothes, set up the drum kit exactly the same, and you will never come to the same show twice.
Yep.
I love being able to just sit in with a warm hug from mum, like a record that just is like just a warm hug from mum, and it's just, you know what you get every time.
Yeah.
Very consistent. But I also like the fact that every 40 minutes, every hour is a different 40 minutes, a different hour. And I think for me, and I'd be curious to hear about this with you, when it comes to promoting the band or the project or whatever, I think nowadays there's a big tendency to be like, yeah, we play shows and stuff, but how good's this song we did? And it's like, that's cool. And, you know, you've worked on some incredible tracks that I've managed to be a part of in a different way recently. But for me, it's like you get hooked on the song so that you can go and enjoy us delivering it to you.
Yep.
What's your sort of perspective on that whole thing? Like sending people to the music as opposed to sending people through the music to the live show and the experience?
Oh, it's constant experimentation for me, man. Like, I've got a lot of different projects cooking, so the Lipsticks fills that improv void, you know? That the danger on stage, like, that's the Lipsticks. It's never the same hour, you know? That's what that is. Stonewax is a bit more like thought-provoking. Like, I want people to continue to find things when they're listening in headphones or on a record, you know. That's kind of more of me creating an experience that's just a different world, you know. That you can it's a more personal experience. I'm not, like, I have in the past, but I'm not actively like DJing that or performing that sort of stuff. And then there's another project called Chucho versus Stonewax, it was recorded a little while ago now, but it's coming out this year. Chucho Bruno, another local legend, but that's a studio-based project, and both of us are producers, composers, and we booked a whole week at Yamanui, and we set the whole space up, and then we just like improvised but wrote this record with a bit more thought as well. So that's like the worlds converging in a way. So we've got Stonewax, which is just this dreamlike experience for a listener, one person, I guess, more personal. Lipsticks, live experience, you know, organized chaos, you know, go and sweat. And then Chucho Stonewax, which is kind of both worlds. It's like a live studio kind of project coming together. And right now, pushing those things, like Chucho Stonewax is signed to Yamanui Records. Lipsticks have a distribution agreement with Yamanui Records. Stonewax, I'm just in control of, you know. So I'm, again, just experimenting a little bit, letting some people handle certain aspects of certain things. Like Yamanui, you know, they've built the record label and they have a few promising acts under them, and just allowing some of that weight taken off our shoulders as a band too. You know, we still got shit to do and organise for those guys to be able to make sure they can do their work, but again, it's just like testing the waters, see how this works for this project, you know. Chucho Stonewax can be this like studio-based project, like Yusef Kamal Records or Flying Lotus, or, you know, collaborative. It's like, it doesn't have to be anything but that either, you know. You know, rather than trying to force it into, let's tour Chucho Stonewax. It's like, no, let's just put the record out, wait and see what happens. If there's hype for a live show, then we'll create a tour, you know. But then the Lipsticks is more like, no, we got to play live. Like, we got to be in front of people and using that energy. That's how we connect, you know. And then Stonewax Tunes is just me experimenting with art and graphic design and production and my own kind of techniques in life, and being able to just like create product around that, you know. A creative sandbox that has no expectations, man, and complete freedom, you know, which is where you wanted to be to start with anyways. So, you know, clothing lines have come from that shit, You know, I'm just, again, it's full experimentation. And I don't think I'll ever stop doing that either. Like, I think that's something that's just ingrained in me, my curiosity for these sorts of things, and kind of like every day, you know. I was waiting for a client yesterday, and in that hour of waiting for him, I was working on something else, like for my own thing. So baby steps for everything, you know.
Yeah. So this space, well, not this exact space, but like your space here, what, like, there's a bit of a promo plug. What do you like offer this space to be? Like, obviously you have Yamanui as a space that everything can be done in.
Yep.
But what do you offer this space to be? More of a songwriting production thing, or a full...
Oh, definitely more so songwriting, production, pre-production. That's what it is at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Spira just finished their first single. We're working on a few others. That project, I think 80% of it was done here, and then we've taken tracks to go do drum recordings, because Yamanui we can get they got the SSL, you know, we can get a much broader drum sound there, you know, 15, 16 mics if we want. I just don't have that capacity yet.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely am looking into building a booth, because obviously all the rain and the noise from the outside can sneak its way in. But also a bit of a creative sanctuary, you know. I'm inspired by Rocking Horse Studios and that whole Airbnb that's attached to it, and you know, that place is crazy. I don't know if you've seen it or been there, but it's a 5-bedroom house right next to a studio, complete zen, you know, all this nature surrounded, and artists will spend a week, 2 weeks there writing a record, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty, yeah.
You know, I'd love to do something like that, but also I have the itch to travel. Like, Japan is very high on my list. I want to go overseas and work with a few people. Yeah, man. Keep having dreams about LA.
Okay, like what are those dreams?
Recurring, vivid as dreams of me like connecting with music community in LA.
Have you been to the States before?
I have been to the States, but haven't been to LA.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like did you dabble around that music world while you're over there, even just as a consumer?
Yeah. Like, my favorite artists, all the top of my list right now are from LA. You know, all the modern ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe there's just something calling me there, but Japan's definitely before that. I got to go and just drink sake and eat my way around that country, you know. Yeah. Enjoy that. Buy some comic books.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's such a melting pot of stuff. Like
the culture there, like the art.
And once again, we just go back to that law of averages stuff. Yeah. There's just more because there's more.
No one does it better, in my opinion.
Yeah. And there's just so much going on at all times, so many opportunities to be about, and no matter what you're playing or what you want to consume, there's options, there's lots of things. And like I said, there's law of averages, there's more people, so there's more of it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a cool place to have on the list.
Yeah. So definitely, I need to go and get a bit of inspo, but like I've got so much work to put out this year, you know. Lipstick's new single and video, which will be June, Muso Stonewax, July, and then I've got like 40, 50 odd tracks of my own that I'm kind of
wading through. Yeah,
just turning into maybe 1 or 2 records, you know. So, yeah.
Have you got some sync? Have you ever done any sync work? Like,
we've had sync placements.
Okay.
But, not like I haven't written anything for a commercial or anything like that. I have done for fun, like I've done movie tracks and stuff like that. Chucho has a background in
that world,
like jingle writing and stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, interesting.
But yeah, like other than just a few sync placements, no, I haven't. I don't really seek that sort of thing. That's another great part of Yamanui Records is their network in that realm. You know, they're able to catalog stuff and pitch it for you. So
yeah, for sure, and have that like Like, there's one thing is to be like, oh, I'll make bloody videos about my band all the time, and like for me, that's what pays the bills. Not necessarily for my band, but for bands like Asterix, like that's what pays the bills for me. That world of band promotion and ticket sales and those sorts of things. That's a lot of what I do day to day, and that world I think is not necessarily the same world as that, like the admin of pitching to things and like liaising with other people that I know that like have their person that does that, and they tell everyone how grouse you are, but in more of a, you could use this for this, and you know, we said we love it in the chorus as the hook. How about McDonald's? I'm loving it. Maybe there's, you know, that whole world, and it's like it's a whole different world. When I was at uni, I got a little bit introduced to that, and it was very much split the class. Some of the class were like sell out pigs, and some of them are like if it helps you pay for the next record,
fuck yes,
go for.
I am so for it.
Super in that lane, because I'm like, for me, like
even if it doesn't pay anything, man, like it's reach.
Totally.
Reach.
When we talk about exposure, I've created something which has then been used on a platform. Like I found out the other day that Melbourne Ska Orchestra did something for Japanese whiskey.
Oh, sick.
Like, obviously that means nothing to any of us here. Yeah. But it was like a big deal over there. They had some like J-pop star, I think, in it, or J-pop or Japanese model or something. She was in it as well, and it's this whole whiskey thing. And
wow.
And I was like, there you go.
Exactly.
Like, didn't realize, but at the same time, that sort of stuff. When someone says, "Oh, this is some exposure for you," I'm like, yeah, that actually is.
Yeah.
As opposed to come play my venue for 4 hours for exposure. That's a different conversation.
Yes.
But like, I think that whole world is so interesting and intricate, and it's a way to, or it's a way, not necessarily a way to as in like work towards it, but it's a way that you can be noticed in a completely different
people
world.
Are so much on their phones, on Netflix, on their streaming, you know, like get in that Coca-Cola ad, man. Like make shit for that stuff. Well, make it for you first, but you know, have intention of where
could this go.
Paint that picture.
And like just things like what are we using for the title of this? We could use blah name, or we could use name blah, and that could probably be used for something in the future. It takes 2 seconds just to have the publishing be a little different, and now maybe it's got something in there. You know, I John was telling me from the Just Street was telling me the other day about this band. He's like, this is probably one of my favorite bands. Name just I still don't remember it, but he's like, oh, they did a lot of the scoring for Grey's Anatomy.
Oh yeah. Who is that band?
No, I wasn't joking. I genuinely can't remember. Like, genuinely, if the name was not memorable, like it did not. He just said a name, but apparently they did a lot of sync work for Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, there you go.
It's like, well, Blood from the Middle East, man. That thing. And there's like there's the band, but there's two owners of the song. So the two owners just went, pew.
Exactly.
You know,
and I think that's what's exciting. And when people say about like music and I get a real job and all this stuff that we've all heard those conversations. Yeah. I think about it and go, I really think about it and go, strip it out of everything you hear and consume day to day. Yeah. Like no one's selling stuff on TVCs anymore. It gets super dry the moment you take out any form of score. Yeah. So why can't that be you? Why couldn't that be your song?
Yeah, you know? Exactly right. You know?
So it's exciting.
I think pitch it all, because people don't even know what they like yet.
Very true.
You know, if you're creating original shit and you are having second thoughts on it, like once it's created, it's not yours anymore. And that's the one thing I have to like really stress to some of my clients. I'm like, you're going to keep changing this, you're going to keep revising it, but now it's recorded, it's for the people, you know? Yeah. You got to let go of your baby. And you got to let it grow.
And also different versus better.
Yes.
We could redo a lot of stuff, but is it different or is it better? Yeah. And also it's hard to really, unless like there's mistakes or whatever, it's hard to rank better when no one else other than you and me have heard it.
It's opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Art is open for interpretation, you know? And as soon as you like understand that, you forget and you just paint with color. Like you go, move on to the next thing, go, move on to the next thing. I was working with a client this week and she's like, you just work so fast. I'm like, if I don't, like I'll dwell on something for too long and all of a sudden the next good thing goes. Like, you know, it's like recording like if you're a rapper and you freestyle, you want to record that to capture that. Otherwise, the idea just leaves, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. You've just got to throw it all at the wall. Sometimes you'll go back and delete the initial idea, but where it's led you is way more important, you know?
Yeah, and often that can be the best seat in the house to have a producer sitting in.
Yeah.
Is the capture it all guy.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't thinking about press and record then, and you're like, oh, it's already done. We've got that. If you ever wanted to use it, we've got that.
Yeah.
And that can be part of that thing where you can just be yourself and just go with whatever's coming out of the heart or whatever's just flying, and you're like, well, I've captured it anyway. We never use it, that's fine, but I've got it there. That first noodle you did on a solo, I recorded that. 3 of the notes are bum, but the start and the end's grouse, if you ever wanted to use it, you know. And I think that's such a cool experience to have with people that, especially people that have done a lot of stuff themselves. Whatever they don't do doesn't get captured. Whatever they don't put in doesn't get recorded. Whereas you get in a room with someone and you're able to just take off a couple of hats. And I think that's a massive advantage if you can have find people that gel with that can essentially wear a couple of those hats for you.
It can also, like, it's a different world, you know. We've got technology on our side. Sometimes it can be a blessing and a curse, but I think as long as the ego is left at the door and you're able to react in the right way to what's happening in the art form, like, Rick Rubin also says, hear it all before saying no, before saying yes. Hear everything, you know. So that's, I kind of live by a similar thing, you know. I like to move quickly, you know.
I like that. You know? No, that's sick. Well, tell the lovely people where they can find everything you're doing and you, and if get people in here and stuff like that. Like, where are your pipes?
So Instagram is the main source at the moment. At stonewax with dots in between every letter. Thanks, Instagram.
I was gonna say if you do S dot, most likely if you're
S
like,
dot T dot O dot N dot E dot blah blah blah. Stonewax.
So Bailey Walker editors, he's gonna have to put that in somewhere over your face. So that's
I'm glad I'm not editing this one. Otherwise, just Google me. Someone will know me. Yeah.
Yell into a field
just
somewhere.
Just call and I'll hear.
Yeah. Hold up a shell to your ear.
Yeah. One of those.
Oh no, awesome, man. Well, I love what you're up to and what you're doing. It's exciting, and as much as it's going to date this, we're actually playing a show with you this weekend.
We are,
which is not going to be this weekend now, but like for us, it's this weekend. Yeah. So it was really good. You should have been there, guys. It was an absolute treat. So, all right, that's your problem. But I love what you're doing, and it's super exciting. And thank you for having me in your space on this beautiful Sunshine Coast day,
bro. I appreciate it. So
I'm curious to hear how much rain we've actually got in here. I think it's a nice little ambience.
Yeah. Add to the ASMR.
Exactly. Yeah. But thank you for having me here and sharing a little bit of your world, because this whole world of like relationships and production and getting people in a room together and basically starting these relationships, I think that's the future. Because that's what rebuilds the connection that we've maybe lost from all the screens and stuff, that disconnect. We're building that back in by getting together more, and as much as people can do it themselves, they would still rather do it themselves with you, or they'd rather come round and I hang out with them and press the button so they can just record drums and not have to worry about anything else. And I think that's where we're going. It's a good spot to be. Yeah, man. Well said. I appreciate you coming out, brother. Oh, anytime, man. Awesome. Well, guys, that is another episode of the Ask Muso podcast. Make sure you check out everything that Steve's got going on with all this stonewax stuff, as well as his other projects. And you know where to find these episodes: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all the places. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.